Alright guys, I want to just show you quickly how Maschine integrates into a host. Now I'm going to be using Ableton in this example, but everything that I show you here will apply equally to Ableton, to Logic, to Pro Tools, to Cubase, any host that supports VST, AU or RTAS plugins. So the first thing to do is just load up Maschine as a virtual instrument, and you'll see that the same familiar Maschine software opens up here within your host. Now, once you start using it in your host, you will find that you do start to use the software a little bit more. Whereas in standalone mode, I think one of the greatest things about it is that you very rarely need to touch a mouse. It's great, you can do absolutely everything from the keyboard. But once you're in here, there's a few things that are really useful. So what I'm going to do is I've loaded it up, and I'm just going to load up that song we were working on before. Cool, this is it here. So you can see, here's the beat that we were working on. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can work with Maschine in Ableton, so I'm just going to show you a few of them. Now, the first is that's really useful is you can just drag and drop MIDI directly out of Maschine. So here's the beat that we made earlier, and I'm just going to drag from here and drop that directly into a track, and then I'm going to plug that track back into Maschine on track 1 because it's sitting on group 1. And what you'll see here, now here's the MIDI part that I sequenced earlier in Maschine. And if I turn Maschine off, and you'll see there's nothing here playing now. When I play on this clip, yeah, you'll see basically that it's triggering sounds as it would any other virtual instrument, so say battery or an impulse or anything like that. The next thing is something that I really wasn't expecting when I started using Maschine, and I don't think I've seen any other piece of software that allows you to do this. You can switch the drag and drop mode from MIDI into audio. So what that actually means is you can literally just drag straight out of Maschine into an audio track, and you've got a rendered loop of that whole beat that you made. And if you wanted to, say, isolate certain elements from it, like for example, say, just take the kick, you can solo your kick and drag out of Maschine into an audio track, and you'll see that you've got just the kick bounce down, which is really fantastic. Now, one of the things that we didn't really look a great deal at in the previous video is Maschine's ability to arrange. So obviously you can go through and create all these different patterns and variations of these patterns. Per group, you can have up to 64 patterns, so it's a total of 128 patterns throughout Maschine in one song. And then similar to Ableton, you can set up scenes. So you could have one particular beat variation, one particular bass line variation, that stab or that chord from group D and whatever. You can build together scenes. Now, there's a great way to kind of allow Maschine to run alongside Ableton or whatever host you're working, and that is you can then trigger these scenes using notes on a keyboard or using program changes, which is great. So if I just set this up to scene MIDI settings and set up a MIDI program change here, then what that'll allow me to do is to create an empty MIDI part, pop in a program change, say of 3, maybe grab another program change here, pop in a different program number of say 4 for example. Then whenever I trigger this clip, I'll just move over here, you'll see that as soon as I trigger this clip, it automatically drops into scene 3, and as soon as I trigger the following clip, it'll automatically jump into scene 4. Now the last thing that's really great about Maschine is, number one, you can run multiple instances of Maschine within your host. So I'm not sure if there's a limit, but I haven't found one. I'm sort of running at least, sometimes up to 3 or 4 different instances. And each instance can have up to 16 mono or 8 stereo outputs. So what I could do is if I wanted to say take my my drum beat and run just say the kick drum out of its own track, it's quite simple. You just create a new track, tell it to bring, create a new audio track, tell it to bring audio from Maschine on any number of its separate outputs here. So I'll just choose output number 2, and then you'll see if I go into my kick drum here, I can just literally go to the output, tell it which output I want it to go to, and when I hit play, my kick drum is now coming out of its own output. One of the greatest things for me is being able to get home. I've got my Maschine sitting on a 5-meter USB. I can just pick it up and go and sit on the couch, come up with some ideas. Once I've got my ideas together, save that project and come and sit down in front of the computer, open it up inside my host, and really start to yeah, sort of extrapolate what I've been working on and add VST synths, add VST effects and that sort of stuff. Cool, well that's it guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. As you can see, Maschine is a really, really tasty piece of kit. It's got to the stage where I don't really consider it an optional piece of kit anymore. So if you want to come down to Store DJ in Melbourne, I can give you a bit of a demo, or you can come visit one of our sister stores in Sydney or Brisbane. They'd be happy to run you through it as well. Short of that, you can jump onto the Native Instruments website, which is just www.nativeinstruments.com. And check out the tutorial videos available online there and some of the introduction videos, and I think you get a pretty clear overview of the whole thing. I hope it's all been helpful. Wicked. See you later guys.